Hello, how are you everyone? So in the last video we discussed what are the advantages of using grpc, and there were two main advantages which we talked about. One was the protobuf, which sends a smaller size of data over wire, and the second was http. So in this video we'll focus on the first one, that is how does the protobuf send the smaller size of data over wire. And this video will focus mostly on the coding part. So unless you try something, you wouldn't know that whether this is actually happening or not, and also it gives you confidence. So it's always good that you, whatever you see online, don't take it as a face value. Try to code on your own and then see whether it is helpful or not. So let's directly jump to coding. All right. So for me, I am using my favorite IDE, that is IntelliJ. IntelliJ IDE you can download online. The community edition would be enough for you. So you can download IntelliJ IDEA from their website JetBrains, and then you can create a new project. I'm creating a new project named Protobuf. In my local location, I have given some of the parameters. And yes, I would need a Maven based project because I'll need to import some of the dependencies. So, all right, we'll create a project and let's hold on to it. Gets created. So basically, one can run their project from here and they can see the outputs. Hello world. All right, so this program is working. And we also have a pom.xml. So pom.xml is a dependency management tool for Java projects. It's backed by Maven. Similarly, there is Gradle. You can feel free to use either of the two and the both will work fine. So to use protobuf, you need to add a dependency. So in you can find those dependency in the Maven artifacts. For now, I'll just put the dependency because I have already searched online that what exactly would be the dependency. So it will be com.google.protobuf, and the version would be, it's quite interesting the way the auto suggestions keep on populating in IntelliJ. So yes, importing this would be enough for us. Now let's create some protofiles. So what will happen is that we'll create a protofile where we'll define the schema of our projects. So once we define those schemas, then we'll send the data. So for that, I would think that let's create a project named as, where's a directory named as proto, and here we'll put all the protofiles. So let's create a new file. Let's name it as Student.proto. So here we can enter all the proto related data, the schemas. So here let's put syntax proto 3. So just to add one thing, that whatever I'm talking about, they are available in developer.google.com/protobuffer. So this is what I'm taking reference from, and you can go through the guides and then you can go through this basics of Java project, and this essentially explains the syntaxes. So there are different types of syntax format. There was proto 2, and now right now there is this Proto 3 which people can use. So either Proto 2 or Proto 3, both would suffice. And then there are various syntax like message. Um, this is how the message is defined. Then there is enum, and then these are the parameters. So, and this is repeated is for list. So you can go through the documentation. I'll take one of the simplest example for this project, but yeah, feel free to experiment and see what works for you. So it supports everything what JSON supports: list, array, uh, enums, everything. So coming back to the coding part. So yes, we defined a syntax equal to proto 3. Now there are a bunch of options which we can define. For example, Java multiple files equal to true. So basically I want that whatever outputs are generated, they should get generated in multiple files. And option Java package. So I want whatever the output gets generated. So com.anubhav, yeah, anubhav.proto. So we can define this as the, and let's define the message, that's the object. So message students, message students, and students will have repeated, they will have repeated students. So let's first define message student, and here we have string name equal to 1. So this 1 essentially helps the decoder and encoder to figure out the location on which the data will be kept, so that they don't need to send the name. They can easily just send the data and the parsing will happen. So name equal to 1, and we can put int 32, which is the data type for numbers, age equal to 2. So I'm using only these two, and here I can have repeated students equal to 1. There is something wrong. Students. All right. Yeah, I like this feature that they have this spell checks. I think most of the IDs do nowadays. All right. So we created this. Now this simple protofile is not helpful for you when you are going to code. So for example, how would I call this file from my Java program? This Java program does not understand this protofile. So for this actually, if you go to the documentation again, so they have this protoc compiler. So let me figure out, yes. So you can compile your protocol buffers, these protofiles, to Java code. So for this they have shared a package, that is, you click on this link and it will take you to downloading the releases. You can go here, and then from here I'm using macOS, this one, so I might as well go ahead and download this particular thing. So once I download it, let me open the folder. All right. So once you download it, you get something like this, and you have this protoc compiler. So let me just copy this protoc compiler to the project. You might as well keep it here, it doesn't really matter, but for my own help, let me just copy it. Oh, where's my ID went? Yes. So I'll copy my protoc file here. Yeah. And I might have to own the permission. So chmod +x protoc. All right. So for Windows, there would correspondingly be an exe file. So now I have a proto file. I have a protoc compiler. Now let's go ahead and check in the project that what exactly was mentioned there. So if we come back to the documentation, so this they have this uh, protoc minus I equal to um, yes. So they have defined a protoc minus I equal to the source directory, then output, then destination directory, and then they have this source protofile. So we'll try to have a similar um, command in our project. So let's go back to our ID again and try to run the same code here. So let me just paste this code and I'll try to replace the data accordingly. So src directory is, as we see, it's proto, and we are currently in protobuf file. So we can replace this as proto. Okay. Then minus java out destination directory. We can do that as main. Okay. Src main java. So I would want the output to be here itself, and the source, the exact path of the proto file we can give as proto slash. So I'm not doing anything special here. Student.proto. So if I run this command, let's run the command and see what happens. All right, I'll paste the program, the things here. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I think I might be wrong here. I need to do that dot slash protoc. All right, so I ran the command and let's see, the output got generated. So you see the student in the students class got generated, which I can use in my project. So this is the student class, and we see a bunch of errors. It says that cannot resolve the symbol Google. Let's rebuild the project. I think if I rebuild the project, the error should go away. Yeah, the magically all the error went. So coming back, I see one red symbol. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, so there is this, I think there is some mismatch between the versions of protobuf and the version I'm using. So let me, we can change the code directly here. But yeah, definitely worth checking why it is happening. So it says that string is empty. So instead of that, this I can replace the code because now I have this code. So string, if string is not empty, is doing something. So I mean, I'll just remove this code, but name underscore is not equal to null, and name underscore. So basically, not equal to string, not equal to. Let's do this. All right. So we want this code to run if string is not empty, which means string is not equal to either of the two cases. So this says that string is not empty, run it. Yeah, I might as well replace it with this, and that should be okay. And there is this one more error. I'll do the same thing here. So folks, the thing is that ideally it should not be, we should not have had to do this. but I suppose that there is some mismatch in the versions. This is v3 and possibly my compiler, that my dependency would be v2. So that's why this is happening. We can check, you can experiment and figure out what works for you. But nevertheless, there's a small problem. You can go ahead and change. I would just want to see if there is any other error anywhere else which I have to see. I don't see any red color or any error being shown anywhere. So yeah, I'm good. This means that I can start my coding now. So here is what happened. Just to summarize, we created a protofile, then we downloaded a protoc compiler, and with the help of protoc compiler, we generated a bunch of classes which correspond to this protofile. So now our job is to code for against these protofile and see the output. So let's create some objects and see how do they look. All right, so we can write student is equal to, so they have this student dot new builder dot set age 10 dot set name Anubhav dot build. So just to add one thing, this is what is called as builder pattern. It's very interesting pattern and very commonly used. Do check out online how to use this builder pattern, and this will be helpful for you. All right, so I created student 1. Then let me create student 2 as well. So let me name it student 1, and then let's take the example of the last video. Student 2 equal to student dot new builder dot set age, I think it was 11, and set name, yes, so it was Arun. So we have this 2 students, and then let's have student students equal to students dot new builder dot add students, student 1 dot add student 2 dot build. All right, so here we are, we created students. Now how would this work? Let's assume that this is the code for the sender. So now a sender wants to send this data, and what the sender will do is that they will have byte array over wire and to send equal to students dot to byte array. So this is the method created by protobuf when we created using protoc compiler. So, and let's print it for int I equal to 0, I less than what? I less than array to send dot length I plus plus, and we can do SOUT by array to send I, and let's have some space in between, and SOUT. All right, so if somebody wants to send this data over wire, so what happens? So this is the data which was sent. Let's print the size of this array as well. SOUT array to send dot length All right, so let's run this again. So this data got sent in 23 bytes, 23 characters. So how, so let's suppose this is the code of the sender. Let me wrap this code for sender. Extract, extract method, sender. So the data which sender is sending is this data. Now suppose this student.proto file, this you send to the receiver as well beforehand. You can send using email, you can send this student.proto file using WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever you want to. So you send this data to the receiver, which and they will also write the same code. So they will again have a student.proto file, they will have a protoc pom.xml, the same thing. And for the sender code, the data which the sender will send over wire is this 23 characters. So let's write the code. I'm using the same project just for the sake of simplicity, but yeah, you can consider that the whole project is same except for this sender and receiver. So let's say the receiver received a byte array, that hey, this is a byte array sent by sender, and it's a good time for the receiver to byte array data from sender. Now the receiver would want to understand, and the receiver would want to understand what this data is. So let's say we can get data to send. We can define it this way, and let's have a byte array, or I think data to send. Okay, and now we'll pass the same data to receiver. So assume that the from step 1 to step 2 happened over wire. That is, sender sent the data a byte array, and now the receiver received the byte array. So now the onus is on the receiver to parse this data. So the receiver also has this protofile sent over WhatsApp, Facebook, or however, it doesn't really matter. They have been, or email, they have been communicated with this protofile, and now they need to understand this file. So if they come here and they say that data received RECEI received by me equal to, and if they try to understand this file, then again they won't understand anything. Of course, how would they? This is a byte array which corresponds to some data which they wouldn't understand unless the schema is known. So this is the data, data from sender. So this is the data they receive. Let's say, let's run this code. So what happened? Oh, my bad. Return array to send. Oh. So coming back, and we'll run the code. Let's run the code here. And yes, the data which was sent by the sender is received by the receiver. Now the question is, how would they parse this data? So to parse this data, it's fairly simple. All they have to do is students dot parse from, and they can give this data from send, and that should be enough. Let's Yes. Ideally, you should have such handling in a better way instead of method signature. It really depends case to case basis. But for the sake of simplicity, let's do this, and let's have students. Students uh, where students equal to this. Not sure. Okay. Oh, now I remember why where is not working. I am using Java 8 here. So, all right. So let's print SOUT students dot um, student dot site length. Is there something called length? Students dot get student list dot size. So there should be two students because the two students were sent by the sender. Let's have students dot get students at 0th index dot get name plus the same stuff. So the first name should be Anubhav and the second should be Arun. So yes, we'll paste it here. All right, and here it should be get age. And let's just copy the same data again and paste it here, and let's just make it 1. All right, so yes, let's run the code to see what the value holds for this S1 and S2. So you see Anubhav 10 and Arun 11. So this data of Anubhav 10 and Arun 11, this got sent in 23 bytes. The sender sent this byte array, the receiver received this byte array. The receiver already had this schema which was sent to them over chat or something, that hey, this is the schema which we are going to follow. And once they had this schema, the receiver received, when the receiver received the data over wire, they were able to decode this data and then send the data, understand the data, and then send it to the other services. So this data is of 23 bytes. Let's see what would be the size of the data had we sent over as a plain JSON. So let's create a file students.json. So this is the data which they would have sent. So this would have been an array, right? And then there were two nodes, name and name Anubhav, age 10, and then here again name Arun. All right, and here we have age 11. All right. So if we see the number of bytes which this would have taken, we can count the number of characters here, and that can give us the size. And the other way would be to use JSON and then see the data. But let's just count the bytes. 1. So okay, let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 4 bytes. So basically 4 plus 4, 8, and plus 3, 4 plus 3 7, and then 7 plus 7 14. 14 bytes just went for this, plus double quotes. So 4 double quotes here and 4 double quotes here, so 22 bytes just for these keys. And likewise, so you can see that if I would not want to guess it now, but if we can see that it should be more than 50 or 55 bytes if you count all the characters here. So this is the advantage you get, that in when you use protobuf and send data over wire, you don't have to send this name age. You don't have to send these curly brackets, because those information have already been shared over uh, other method of communication, that hey, this is how we are going to talk to each other, this is how the schema, and this is what the first index would look like, this is what the second index would look like. So all these information have already been communicated, and now all they have to do is to understand the JSON. So if you see this JSON, this is quite a large JSON. It goes for up to around 50 or 55 bytes. So there is a clear advantage of using protobuf. And whenever you want to send data over wire and you want to compress that data, either you might use your own algorithms or your own ways of encoding or decoding, or why not use something which is already being built. I would also recommend you to go through the logic and the documentation which they have in this particular website. You can always go ahead and see what are the advantages and various use cases of using protobuf. So basically, when you come here, you can see that there are various other cases where various types of data types which are supported, and not just string int 32 and repeated. There are more than that, and you should definitely go ahead and see, especially the Java one or whatever languages you are using in your project. So in a nutshell, I'll say that clearly there was a big advantage of using protobuf to send the data over wire. If you use any method in which the data is not repeated, then then you can have an advantage of compressing the data. If we summarize the whole project, it just says that create a protofile and then have a protoc, run a command to convert the protoc to uh, this protofile to a Java file, and then if there are some compilation error, fix them, and then it's just a cakewalk from there. I'll share this code on GitHub as well. Feel free to clone that code, run that code. You should always try to run a code on your own. That will give you more confidence compared to watching the code, because many times you would take things at face value, but when you run it, then you will have more questions. I'll keep on posting more videos around gRPC in the coming videos as well. So in the next video, I'll try to explain and use gRPC. So in next video, I'm not going to use protobuf, but instead I'll use another library which internally would use protobuf. So now your basics would be clear that why are we moving in that direction. That's all for this video. Please comment and let me know where would you like to the content get added. Was it too simple? Was it too hard? Or how you felt when you watched this content? Thank you for watching, and keep an eye on the coming videos. Thank you.